The Vulture is Peter Parker's love interest's father. There, I didn't warn you. This is a spoiler review. If you didn't read by the title, you deserve to get something spoiled before you clicked out. So I just want to talk about Spider-Man: Homecoming, what I like, what I dislike. I don't know, without any restrictions. Let's get on to this, guys. Just first of all, just seeing how Peter Parker was in this universe felt so good. How like he wanted to be in these academics with his friends, but also save the world. And it's strange though, but like the characters who are in it, it's like you get Zendaya's character who's kind of playing him MJ, but she's not really. It's just the initials, maybe like a hit wink wink like what Robin was with The Dark Knight Rises. But you also have his love interest in it, who ends up being Vulture's daughter. His friend who discovers just when from the trailers when he goes in, he's like, "You're Spider-Man," and like he's the one that kind of almost just reveals who he is. And it's those things where it was great seeing him interact in high school. I just felt it was kind of light. I felt like Flash Thompson was being too light on this guy. But judging how like we work nowadays, it is like a millennial type of way of how to deal with these sort of things. I would have loved to see more of Aunt May and Peter Parker. They didn't really mention anything about Ben Parker except for maybe a minor kind of like reference, kind of just like from a past thing. But they didn't mention anything. I want to see more of that, especially like in the Rammies. It just deals so much with how they work. Hopefully the sequel does something where we get to know more about them. Maybe do mention finally about Uncle Ben, but slightly. It doesn't have to be a lot. But now I'm curious now that we didn't get that in this movie. Him having a relationship with Tony Stark felt so good. I like seeing that kind of father-son relationship. Seeing him after saving him from that fairy sequence and how Spider-Man thinks no one listens to him, but then Iron Man's like, "You need to be better than me." He conveys that he's an adult, but he understands that he has ambitions. He gets that, but he needs to be better than what the previous were. He takes the suit for a while. I thought the suit was going to be there in the beginning, but it's out there throughout most of the movie. It's until the ending before he wins it back, where he goes back to his homemade suit. But really, Peter and Tony, that relationship, wanted to see a little bit more of that, but it was okay what we had, especially what people were saying this is Iron Man Homecoming. So, stick it to them. Shows that sometimes marketing might not be the same, but also if you see that particular trailer, like trailer 2, if you know every beat from this movie, so that kind of does suffer a bit, but it's the trailer's fault, not the movie's fault, of kind of knowing this here and then that there. Only a few things I did not expect, but everything else was kind of presented in a mini version in that trailer. Seeing Michael Keaton have the reasons that he was the one that picked up the mess for like the Battle of New York of the Avengers, and then people were trying to come in take his job with his family, sparked a fire in him where he wants to come back, stick it to everybody, to Iron Man and all those that try to take his job. He is the Vulture character. He is considered the bad guy, but he has a goal, a reasoning why, and you can kind of relate to it if you can see it from his point of view, and I'm glad. And this is one of the more unique MCU characters where you can actually just understand him, and it helps that Michael Keaton is a good actor. But honestly, like, I actually really felt for this guy. There are times I kind of wanted to see him win, even though I know it was the better decision to have Spider-Man win. I was still rooting for him, even though there's times I rooted for the Vulture. I'm glad they didn't kill off his character. MCU really always keeps doing that nowadays, and I'm glad we have a chance for him to work out for a sequel or something. I don't know if they'll bring back his family. So that one scene where Peter opens the door and it's Keaton's character, Tom's, in there. It was very surprising. I was like, I did not expect that. And there's some things I can smell my way. It's crazy to think I did not expect that would be her father. And then before he goes out to his homecoming, the way Michael Keaton figures out, he deciphers that that's Spider-Man. I'm glad I wouldn't waste a lot of time with a lot of things going on here where like Peter finally admits to her that he likes her and she knows, and then Michael Keaton's not going to play it off like that's the Spider-Man, especially what his daughter was saying, kind of putting the pieces. I'm glad he wasn't too like dumb to figure out that he is Spider-Man. and he tells him like, I'm gonna give you a chance because you saved her, but if you do it again, I will hurt you and your family. So just the presence of how he's not crazy. He doesn't show it, but he's maniacally like terrifying, just like in a quiet mannered way. That is a really good way of like giving you some chills at least. Yeah, the sequences with like the DC, the boating, and even when he fights Vulture, they were all sedated, secluded. I think I can't find the word, but they were all minimal, and it really didn't show that a lot of stakes were given. Like the city being destroyed, and it felt great again. It felt great seeing. It had certain people maybe involved in scenes, but overall, it was in a little area, and kudos to that. It was just felt very personal. Reminded me a little bit of Ant-Man. I can't really tell really was my favorite scene. There were a lot of good scenes, but yeah, these scenes they felt a little bit safe, but also they were good for what this movie was. It's just kind of like it's the reason I'm looking at the other movies. It didn't feel like the stakes were really that weighing too much on Peter, except for that one scene where he couldn't get out, and then there's that thing that he looks to the half face, half mask, which I kind of like, but at the same time, I feel like kind of forced. There are some things in this movie that are kind of forced, some comedy, like some dialogues, but overall, not a lot to weigh down the movie. But yeah, except for that one scene where he looks at himself through the water reflection, didn't feel like the pressure was too heavy on him. But maybe it's because he's just a kid right now. The sequels, you'll probably get something even worse. They just wanted to start like baby steps, but then eventually get to a higher stake for him in the sequel. Why not? That's what mostly sequels are. Yeah, I love seeing him when he's just Spider-Man, and when he's swinging and how things realistically go. You can't just be swinging from everywhere, and he might need a car. He might need to run when he's in neighborhoods, and it's cool seeing him how he wasn't always in the big cities. He was in the more smaller neighborhoods, and that's where he relied more on how it's not just always the spidey webs and trying to swing. He needs to somehow get around with any agility he has just to kind of stop whoever he is. That really brought him down to earth. It made us relate to him even more, and he's a character we've always loved, especially those that grew up with Spider-Man. And this is a little like just side note when he's like trying to do this interrogation on Donald Glover. Hilarious, like little things like that when he doesn't know something and he's trying to resolve it. It just feels like a kid when you have your powers but you're not fully developed of it. So it was great as a coming to age story of him becoming who he is as Spider-Man, accepting that he wants to be Avenger, but then when Tony wants to give him that privilege, he kind of doesn't need it right now. He doesn't want it because it feels like he needs another like lesson, still something else to kind of actually fulfill it, earn that title. And he develops where he understands he doesn't want to be an Avenger that fast. He wants to take some time, and when he knows it's right, he'll hopefully come back to the door and knock and be given that position of becoming officially an Avenger. So I really had a good time with this movie. I had a blast. Like, this is not a perfect movie. It has its flaws weighing it, but overall it had entertaining action. The characters really were developed, at least where in the sense where I cared. Incredible acting. Really showed Spider-Man in a way like those that liked him from the comics, from just the TV shows, showed him in an essence where this really felt like Spider-Man. So let me know, guys, what you thought. What were your favorite scenes of this movie? Any criticisms? All this in the comments below. And as always, roll on Empire, laugh, smile, repeat.